The stagecoach rattled to a stop in front of the Dusty Creek General Store, kicking up a cloud of dust that hung in the dry afternoon air. Stone Mason stood among a small crowd of curious townspeople, his heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and nervousness he'd never felt before, not during his years as a cavalry scout, not during winter alone in the mountains, not even during gunfights with outlaws. This was different. This was about opening his life to someone, about ending the solitude that had defined his existence for the past 8 years. At 34 years old, Stone was an imposing figure, 6'5", with shoulders like an ox yoke and a powerfully muscled frame that spoke of constant physical labor. His torso showed the kind of definition that came from chopping wood, hauling stone, and building a homestead with his own hands, defined abs, strong arms, a chest and back corded with muscle. His dark hair touched his collar, and his face bore the weathered tan of someone who spent most days outdoors. He had the kind of rugged handsomeness that made women glance his way, but his shy nature and isolated lifestyle had kept him perpetually single. Until now. Until he'd finally worked up the courage to contact the matrimonial agency and arrange for a mail-order bride. He'd been honest in his letters. He lived in a remote cabin, worked hard, had little social grace, and wanted a practical woman who could handle frontier life. The agency had matched him with someone named Belle Yoder, recently widowed, experienced in household management, and seeking a fresh start. The stagecoach door opened, and the driver helped down 2 women and 3 children. Then he reached back inside and extended his hand to help one more passenger. What emerged made the crowd gasp and murmur. Belle Yoder was the largest woman most of them had ever seen. She was perhaps 25 years old and easily weighed 400 pounds, her substantial frame filling her simple Amish-style dress. Her round face was flushed with heat and embarrassment, her dark hair covered by a prayer cap that marked her Mennonite heritage. She moved carefully, clearly self-conscious about her size, and when she looked up at the assembled crowd, her brown eyes were filled with a resignation and shame that made Stone's chest ache. "Which one of you is Stone Mason?" she asked, her voice surprisingly strong despite her obvious distress. Stone stepped forward. "That would be me, ma'am." Belle looked at him, really looked at him, taking in his height, his muscular build, his youth and vitality. Then she shook her head, tears already welling in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said loudly enough for the whole crowd to hear. "I know what the agency told you, but I can't do this to you. Look at me. I'm too big for you, too big for anyone. You deserve better than what I can offer." The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a mixture of pity and cruel amusement. Stone heard someone snicker, heard whispers of "poor fellow" and "what a disaster." He saw Belle's face crumple with humiliation, saw her turn back toward the stagecoach as if she might climb back in and leave. Stone moved quickly, his long legs closing the distance between them in a few strides. He reached Belle before she could escape and gently took her hand, her soft, work-roughened hand that trembled in his. "Miss Belle," he said quietly, but his voice carried in the suddenly silent street, "I don't care about your size. I care about your character, your capability, and your willingness to build a life with me. You came all this way, gave up everything you knew to take a chance on a stranger. That takes more courage than most people will ever have. And from where I'm standing, you look exactly right. You look perfect." Belle stared at him in shock, tears now streaming freely down her round cheeks. You can't mean that. Look at me." "I am looking at you," Stone interrupted gently. "I see a woman who's been hurt, who's learned to expect rejection, who's probably heard cruel words about her size her whole life. But I also see someone strong enough to survive whatever brought her here, brave enough to keep trying despite the pain. That's what I see, Belle. That's what matters to me." He looked at the crowd, his expression hardening. "Anyone got something to say about my choice? Because the lady's with me now, and I don't take kindly to people mocking what's mine." The threat in his voice was subtle, but unmistakable. Stone Mason might be quiet and shy, but everyone in Dusty Creek knew he was also dangerous when provoked. The crowd dispersed quickly, leaving Stone and Belle standing alone beside the stagecoach. "Come on," Stone said, his voice gentle again. "Let's get your things and head home. We've got a fair ride ahead of us, and I'd like to get back before dark." Belle allowed herself to be led to Stone's wagon, where he loaded her single trunk, a heartbreakingly small amount of possessions for someone starting a new life. He helped her onto the wagon seat with surprising gentleness, his strong hands steadying her, never showing strain or discomfort at supporting her weight. As they left Dusty Creek behind, heading toward the mountains in the distance, Belle finally found her voice. "Why did you do that? Defend me? You could have just agreed with me, sent me back. The agency would have found you someone else, someone smaller, prettier." "I don't want someone else," Stone said, his eyes on the trail ahead. "I want a partner, Belle. Someone real, not some perfect fantasy that doesn't exist. The agency told me you were recently widowed, that you were experienced in running a household, that you were looking for a fresh start. That's all I needed to know. Your size wasn't even mentioned in the correspondence, but if it had been, it wouldn't have mattered. My late husband used to say I was an embarrassment," Belle said quietly. "Said he'd married me when I was thinner and that I'd let myself go. He—" She trailed off, clearly not ready to share more. "Your late husband sounds like he was a fool," Stone said firmly. "A good man doesn't make his wife feel ashamed. A good man values her for who she is, not what she looks like." They rode in silence for a while, the wagon climbing steadily into the foothills. Belle studied Stone from the corner of her eye, trying to reconcile his gentle words with his intimidating appearance. He was powerfully built, moving with the confidence of someone completely comfortable with physical challenges. Yet he handled the horses with a light touch, and had helped her into the wagon with surprising tenderness. "Why did you never marry before?" Belle finally asked. "A man like you, strong, capable, kind, surely women would have been interested." Stone's face colored slightly. "I'm not good with people," he admitted, "especially women. I get tongue-tied, say the wrong things. It's easier to be alone than to risk making a fool of myself. But these past few years—" He paused, searching for words. "I've built a good homestead. I have productive land, livestock, a solid cabin. But it's lonely, empty. I wanted to share it with someone, wanted to build something more than just a successful ranch. So I finally worked up the courage to contact the agency." "And you got me," Belle said with bitter irony. "The woman even other lonely men usually reject." "I got exactly who I was meant to get," Stone said quietly. "I believe that. Sometimes the best things in life come in unexpected packages." Stone's cabin appeared as they crested a ridge, and Belle caught her breath at the sight. Nestled in a protected valley, the homestead was substantial and well maintained. The log cabin was larger than she'd expected, with a covered porch and glass windows that spoke of prosperity. A barn, chicken coop, and several outbuildings stood nearby, all in good repair. Fenced pastures held cattle and horses, and a vegetable garden showed careful tending. "You built all this yourself?" Belle asked in wonder. "Over the past 8 years," Stone confirmed with quiet pride. "Had help with some of the bigger projects, but most of it's my own work. Come on, let me show you inside." The cabin's interior was surprisingly comfortable for a bachelor's dwelling. The main room served as kitchen and living area, with a large fireplace, a sturdy table, and shelves lined with books. But what caught Belle's attention was the furniture clearly handmade by Stone himself, built with exceptional craftsmanship. Stone noticed her looking. "I make furniture in winter when weather keeps me inside. Sell some pieces in town." He gestured toward a door at the back of the cabin. "That's the bedroom. It's yours. I'll sleep out here by the fire well, until we figure things out." "Until we figure out if you can actually stand living with me," Belle said, unable to keep the bitterness from her voice. Stone turned to face her fully. "Belle, I need you to understand something. I'm not a man who says things I don't mean. When I said you're perfect, I meant it. Not because I'm settling or making the best of a bad situation, but because I genuinely believe we can build something good here. I'm asking you to give us a chance. Give me a chance before you decide this won't work." Belle looked at this unexpected man who seemed to see her as something other than a burden or an object of pity. "All right," she said quietly. "I'll try. But Stone, I need to be honest with you. I didn't just come here for a fresh start. I came here because I'm running from something." Stone's expression grew serious. "Tell me." So Belle told him. Her late husband, whom everyone had called Crooked Caleb Yoder, had been a gambler and a drinker. He had died 6 months ago in a knife fight over cards, leaving Belle with massive debts to dangerous men. The Mennonite community had tried to help, but the debts were beyond what they could manage. Belle's choices had been stark. Work off the debt in a forced labor situation that was barely better than slavery, or flee west and try to start over. "How much debt?" Stone asked. $2,000, Belle whispered. "An impossible sum. The men Caleb owed, they said they'd give me 6 months to start paying before they came after me. I've been here 3 months. In 3 more months, they'll come looking." Stone was quiet for a long moment, his jaw working as he processed this information. Belle braced herself for anger, for accusations of deception, for him to demand she leave. Instead, he said, $2,000? That's a lot, but not impossible. I have some savings, and I know where I can get more if needed. We'll figure this out, Belle, together." "You can't be serious," Belle said, her voice breaking. "You don't even know me. Why would you saddle yourself with my husband's debts?" "Because you're my wife now, or will be soon, if you agree to marry me proper," Stone said. "And partners don't let each other face threats alone. Besides," he added with a slight smile, "I may be a virgin mountain man who's never courted a woman, but even I know that marriage means taking on each other's burdens as well as each other's joys." Belle stared at him, this impossible man who kept saying impossible things. "You're a virgin?" she asked, latching on to the one detail that seemed safest to focus on. Stone's face colored. "Never had opportunity or courage to be with a woman before. Is that a problem?" "No," Belle said slowly. "It's just unexpected." Most men your age, most men aren't as shy as I am, Stone said ruefully. But I figure if we're going to build a life together, honesty is important. So yes, I'm completely inexperienced in that department. I hope that won't be disappointing. After Crooked Caleb, who only wanted me when he was drunk and usually hurt me, Belle trailed off. Someone gentle and patient sounds like a blessing, not a disappointment. Over the following weeks, Belle discovered that Stone Mason was a man of his word in every way. He treated her with consistent respect and kindness, never making her feel ashamed of her size or uncomfortable in their shared space. He consulted her on household decisions, valued her input on ranch matters, and showed genuine interest in her thoughts and opinions. He also showed his care through actions rather than words. Belle had trouble fitting into the chairs Stone had made for his own use, so he spent a week crafting a special chair for her, wider, sturdier, with arms set further apart, but just as beautifully made as his other furniture. When she found it waiting for her one morning, she had wept at the thoughtfulness. "You made this for me?" she asked through her tears. "Of course," Stone said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "You're part of this household now. Everything should be comfortable for you." Belle also discovered that despite his shyness around people, Stone was remarkably patient as a teacher. He taught her the rhythms of ranch life, showed her how to manage the livestock, explained his methods for preserving food for winter. And he listened when she shared knowledge from her Mennonite upbringing, different recipes, household management techniques, even her beautiful singing voice that she'd been too self-conscious to use in years. One evening, about 2 months after her arrival, as they sat by the fire after dinner, Stone cleared his throat awkwardly. "Belle, I've been thinking about your debt situation. I have an idea, but it'll require work and some risk." Belle set down her sewing. "I'm listening." "My father prospected these mountains for years before he died," Stone said. "He never found the big strike he was looking for, but he did mark several small gold deposits. He left me maps showing their locations. Most aren't worth the effort of serious mining, but they'd be worth something if we worked them, enough to make a significant dent in what you owe." "You'd risk your father's claims for me?" Belle asked, shocked. "They're just sitting there doing nothing," Stone said practically, "and you're worth more to me than any gold in the ground. What do you say? Want to be a prospector's partner?" They spent the next 6 weeks working a claim near Thunder Ridge that Stone's father had marked as promising. The work was backbreaking, panning for gold in icy streams, hauling equipment up steep trails, long days in the harsh sun. But Belle proved to be stronger and more capable than even she had realized. Her size, which had always been treated as a weakness, became an asset. She could haul heavier loads, work longer without tiring, and her strength was invaluable in moving equipment. Stone watched her with growing admiration and affection. "You're amazing," he told her one evening as they counted the day's findings. "Most people would have given up by now, but you just keep working." "I have something to work for," Belle said simply. "A future, a home, you." By the end of the 6 weeks, they had panned enough gold to cover Belle's debt, with some left over. It wasn't the fortune Stone's father had dreamed of, but it was enough. They returned to the homestead, exhausted but triumphant. "I need to go into Dusty Creek," Belle said. "Face this debt head on. Will you come with me?" "Every step of the way," Stone promised. The confrontation happened at the ironclad mercantile where Belle's creditors had arranged to meet her. Two hard-looking men from back east represented the gambling hall where crooked Caleb had accumulated his debts. They looked Belle up and down with contempt when she walked in. "Well, well," one of them sneered, "the fat widow. We expected you to run, not come back to face what you owe." "I'm here to pay the debt," Belle said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "In full." She poured the bag of gold dust and nuggets onto the counter, and both men's eyes widened. The town assayer, called in to verify, weighed and assessed the gold carefully. $2,300 worth, he announced, more than enough to cover the stated debt. The creditors looked frustrated. They had clearly hoped to force Belle into some sort of servitude arrangement that would have been far more profitable for them than simple debt repayment. But with witnesses present, including the town marshal, they had no choice but to accept the payment and provide Belle with a written discharge of all debts. "The debt is paid in full," Marshal Brody announced, stamping the document officially. "Mrs. Yoder is free and clear, and gentlemen," he added, looking at the creditors, "I suggest you leave Dusty Creek immediately. We don't like your kind around here." After the creditors left, Belle sagged against Stone with relief. "It's over," she whispered. "It's really over." "Not over," Stone corrected gently. "Just beginning. We've cleared the past. Now we can focus on the future." He turned to face her fully, aware that half the town was watching through the mercantile windows. "Belle Yoder, you came here as my mail-order bride, but I never formally asked you properly. So I'm asking now, will you marry me? Not because of any arrangement or debt or obligation, but because I've fallen in love with you. Because you're the strongest, bravest, most capable woman I've ever known. Because you've made my empty cabin feel like a home. Will you be my wife?" Belle was crying openly now, tears of joy replacing years of tears of shame. "Yes," she said clearly, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Yes, Stone Mason, I'll marry you. I love you too, your kindness, your patience, your ability to see me as something other than just my size. Yes." Stone pulled her into his arms and kissed her right there in front of the whole town. And to their surprise, applause broke out from Marshal Brody, from the storekeeper, from townspeople who had watched the entire debt resolution and recognized genuine love and courage when they saw it. The wedding took place 2 weeks later in the small church, with most of Dusty Creek in attendance. Belle wore a new dress that Stone had commissioned from the town seamstress maid to fit her properly, in a beautiful blue fabric that brought out her eyes. Stone wore his best clothes and looked terrified and overjoyed in equal measure. Pastor Jeremiah performed the ceremony with warmth and genuine pleasure. "Stone and Belle," he said, "you've shown this community what real love looks like. Love that sees past surface judgments to the truth beneath. Love that faces challenges together. Love that chooses commitment and partnership over easy comfort. Your union is a blessing to all who witness it." When Stone slipped the ring onto Belle's finger, a beautiful piece he had crafted himself from some of the gold they had found, she felt the last pieces of shame and self-doubt fall away. She was loved. She was valued. She was home. The reception was held at Stone's homestead, with neighbors bringing food and celebrating late into the evening. As the sun set over the mountains and guests gradually departed, Stone and Belle finally had a moment alone on their porch. "Are you nervous?" Belle asked softly, knowing that tonight would be their wedding night, and Stone was still a virgin. Terrified, Stone admitted with a slight laugh, but also grateful. Whatever happens tonight, however awkward I might be, I know I'm with someone who's patient and kind. That makes all the difference. I'm nervous too, Belle confessed. Caleb always made me feel like my body was something shameful, something to be endured rather than enjoyed. I'm afraid. Don't be afraid, Stone interrupted gently, taking her soft hands in his large, calloused ones. We'll figure it out together. No rush, no pressure. Just two people who love each other learning how to express that love. And Belle, your body isn't shameful. It's beautiful to me because it's yours. Every part of you is perfect in my eyes. Their wedding night was tender and uncertain and sweet, two inexperienced people discovering intimacy together, laughing at awkward moments, marveling at the connection they found. Stone's patience and genuine love helped Belle finally understand that her body could be a source of pleasure rather than shame. And Belle's gentle guidance helped Stone overcome his nervousness and discover the joy of physical intimacy with someone he loved. In the months that followed, their love deepened and their homestead prospered. Belle's strength and capability complemented Stone's skills perfectly. She managed the household with efficiency, helped with ranch work, and brought music and laughter back into Stone's life. Stone, for his part, continued to show his love through both words and actions, crafting furniture fitted to Belle's size, defending her against any hint of mockery in town, and making sure she never doubted her value. One spring evening, nearly a year after Belle's arrival, they sat on their porch watching the sunset. Belle's hand rested on her swelling belly. She was 5 months pregnant with their first child. I never thought I'd have this, Belle said quietly. A real home, a man who loves me, a baby on the way. That day I stepped off the stagecoach and said I was too big for you. I was so certain you'd reject me like everyone else had. Best day of my life, Stone said, pulling her close. When I saw you, I didn't see your size. I saw courage and strength and someone who needed to be valued the way you deserve. I saw my future standing there looking terrified, and I knew I had to convince you to take a chance on the shy mountain man who'd never even kissed a woman before. You've more than made up for lost time, Belle teased, then grew serious. Thank you, Stone, for seeing me, for loving me exactly as I am, for giving me back my dignity and showing me what real partnership looks like. Thank you, Stone replied, for taking a chance on me, for bringing life and love to this mountain, for being exactly perfect, just like I said you were that first day. As the stars emerged in the darkening sky and the first fireflies of summer began to glow in the meadow, Stone and Belle held each other and counted their blessings. What had begun with shame and rejection had become the most beautiful love story either could have imagined, proof that the right person would see past surface judgments to the truth beneath. That love based on character rather than appearance was the strongest kind, and that sometimes the most perfect match came in the most unexpected package. And when their daughter was born that autumn, healthy and beautiful and loved beyond measure, they named her Hope, because that's what they had given each other on that dusty street and dusty creek when everyone expected rejection and found love instead. The virgin mountain man and the mail order bride had built something that would last forever, a home filled with love, a partnership built on mutual respect, and a family that proved that the best things in life had nothing to do with appearance and everything to do with the courage to see and be seen truly.